on Outback Truckers. Dirt road veteran Dennis Dent goes head-to-head
Oh, big old head, dude.
with a lifelong nemesis.
Knock the shit out of you. I mean, I'm not 25 anymore.
Christian Reynolds takes on the wild backcountry
The road just breaks up and goes to bulldust.
on a vital mission to build a bridge,
If you wreck one there, it'd be expensive for everyone involved.
and on a 5,000-kilometre marathon run.
All I need right now.
Turbo's dealing with
That's how much impact there was.
disaster upon disaster.
This headwind is just slamming me left, right and centre.
In Queensland, Dennis Dent is preparing to take on an old adversary, the road to Cape York.
Bearings checked, adjust the brakes, make sure everything's right.
We can just go all over the Cape like the last frontier. That's what we do. Corrugations and vibrations, extreme conditions. So they've got to be maintained 100%. And if you don't, you're only kidding yourself.
After 42 years fighting the same track, Dennis has learned the hard way.
We learned a lot back in them early days about how to hold trucks and how to get trucks out, how to drink Captain Morgan run and work.
It's been a lifelong battle, but Dennis is ready for one more round.
They actually call you up on the radio and say, well, we're going up to play in the mud today, Denty. So there, we'll have a bit of a go.
Dennis is heading 730 kilometres deep into the wilderness of Cape York to Bramwell Station, Australia's northernmost cattle property.
They call me the 4 o'clock man. Oh, I like getting away early. Anything goes wrong on the road, you've got time up your sleeve.
Joining Dennis on the front line is his long-suffering Mercedes truck. It's been his workhorse for 15 hard years. Behind the cab, 60 tonnes of vital building supplies to keep station workers employed through the wet season. It could start any day now. Once the wet arrives, rivers will flood, cutting the Cape off for months.
People used to go, oh, we'll get across, watch me. Next thing they're floating down the river.
Experience has taught Dennis that he needs to time his run right.
You know, you've got a small window of opportunity to get up there.
But the start of the wet is notoriously hard to predict.
Who can tell what the weather's going to do?
If he gets it wrong, he could be stranded for weeks.
Oh, it can become real serious. You can bog your truck and really be in a lot of trouble.
Also playing on his mind is his body.
Because when the road's really rough, you know, it knocks the shit out of you. Like, I mean, I'm not 25 anymore. I'm 67 years old, you know.
And lately, Dennis has been feeling his age.
Yeah, it's a young man's game, eh? Old man should be doing what I'm doing.
But he's not ready to hang up his keys yet. Right now, his customers are depending on him. And until this road says enough, Dennis will keep pushing his body and his truck to the limit.
I've always got out. Sometimes by the skin of my ass, but I've always got out.
In Darwin, dirt road specialist Christian Reynolds is also praying that the northern wet season holds off for a few more weeks.
This time of year, you just go until you have to stop, making hay while the sun shines. I want a job down the end of a long bitumen road.
37-year-old Christian has been driving trucks all his life. But last year, he took a big gamble, buying out his business partner to saddle himself with 3 trucks and some hefty debts.
Like most transport companies that start off, we struggle a fair bit.
To keep the banks at bay, he needs to keep his rigs moving and the money rolling in. That's a tall order on the road Christian rides. A gravel road gauntlet. Through the heart of Arnhem Land, a vast Aboriginal reserve 3 times the size of Belgium. This is wild country, ruled by the forces of nature. Roads out here face a constant onslaught from the elements.
It's just notoriously hard. It corrugates, and there's a lot of the road there that's just worn out. Hasn't got too much gravel on it to hold it together anymore, and the road just breaks up and goes to bull dust.
On this trip, Christian's hauling building materials to a remote construction site at Donji Creek, a bone-jarring round trip of 1,600 kilometres. His job is to shift 48 concrete bridge beams. It's a delicate task. If Christian cracks one, it'll have serious consequences.
You don't make spare ones. Like, there's 48 beams, I think, for the job, and they only made 48, so if you wreck one there, it'd be expensive for everyone involved, you know?
Adding to the pressure, the rain is closing in.
The bull dust turns to mud, slippery bog holes, and once it gets wet, you can't travel over it.
Every year, the road gets shut down for months, drying up Christian's income.
That's the biggest thing, you don't know when it's all going to stop.
And now he's got more than just himself to worry about. Christian recently got engaged to Katie.
Do I really annoy you?
Not very much.
Not very much, so I still do.
And he's just taken on a new driver, Katie's brother, Norman. Norman's still green, and this is tough country for young truckers. One of Christian's former drivers was lucky to walk away from this wreck.
And just come down there and, yeah, he never made it around the corner. And the next week, another truck fell over in exactly the same spot.
Where these truckers go, the stakes couldn't be higher. On the streets of Perth, one-man business Turbo is reaching the end of his rope.
If people want to understand what stress is, I invite them. Come and step into my shoes for 2 weeks. That hurt. Live how I live for 2 weeks. Thanks. I don't need these right now. Do what I do. Get in there.
Turbo's been on the road for over a month now. He's desperate to see his family, but he can't scrape a load together to pay his way home.
My way of coping with it is to be a nut job.
Look, a starfish. See? Starfish. It don't look like they're coming to get me.
Turbo hit Perth 3 days ago. He needs another load to help cover the cost of the 4,700 kilometre trip back to Brisbane to his wife and daughter.
I'm your slave. Get this, do that.
Living with Turbo can be a challenge.
He stands with a hose and watches me wash the truck. I've tried for the last 15 years to train him. I haven't been able to do it.
He may not be housebroken, but family means the world to Turbo.
Everything I do day in, day out is for Joe and Tracy. That's it. I don't do it for myself, I do it for them.
Back in Perth, Turbo's finally found a customer. She's moving house.
Lid go down, lid go up. Lid go down, lid go up.
But all of her gear doesn't pile up to much. As a one-man, one-truck business, the pressure's always on
Really gentle, mate.
to take whatever job comes up. And right now, Turbo needs all the work he can scrounge.
What?
A recent back injury has kept him off the road for 6 weeks.
Every time that wheel doesn't turn, it costs a couple of $1,000. Those wheels turn, they make money.
Turbo's back's still far from 100%. But he can't afford to rest up. He's just got wind of a load up the coast in Geraldton. It's an 860 kilometre detour. But if it pays off, it could be his ticket home. On the road to Bramwell Station in Cape York, Dennis Dent's journey is off to a good start.
How you be today, Dennis?
Yeah, pretty good for an old fella, mate.
His worries about the rain are being left behind, in the dust. But up ahead, there's news to dampen his spirits.
5k's for Musgrave and she just turned to slop.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the road steadily changes from good
We've had a few storms through here, good ones too by the looks of it.
to bad
Oh, can we go on there too?
to downright ugly.
Driving through the water, don't drive around the water. Stay in the middle of the road. Stay away from the edges there, because that's where it's soft.
Dennis is copping a hiding.
Sick of it. Mate's doing this the whole trip.
He needs to pull over for a breather.
Oh, you always have a break here. Get this shit together. Yeah, how you going?
It's his partner, Anne.
Been in there for 2.5 hours over that road. I just got to walk around. My back's just a little bit sore. Sitting in the seat getting pounded. There's a lot of potholes and washouts on the road there.
500 kilometres into the trip, Dennis's body is sending out distress signals. But he keeps pushing on.
The road can be pretty treacherous at times. Sometimes it's good, other times it's just absolute woeful.
Dennis has spent his whole career dealing with the changing moods of the road. But now he's wrestling with one of the biggest changes of his life.
You can stay a young fella for years, it'll be good, but you can't.
Finally, after a grueling 14-hour day, he reaches his campsite.
Well, I don't mind admitting I'm glad to get here today.
Why is that?
Oh, stuff, don't.
Dennis still has 170 more kilometres to drive. On these roads, it'll feel like 10 times that. Christian Reynolds is blazing a trail to a remote building site in Arnhem Land.
Customers that are a bit stressed about getting their freight out there in time, just with the weather turning bad.
With the wet season due any day now, Christian's been working non-stop. For his fiancée, Katie, sharing the cab is the only way they can share time together.
Like I'll see him like once or twice during the week when he comes in to load. It's like he comes home, has a shower, gets ready and goes.
Katie's passionate about trucking.
I love that truck, isn't it pretty?
But lately, a back injury has kept her off the road.
Was stuck at home for months, spent 2 weeks in hospital. So, yeah, all very exciting.
Being with Christian on this trip also puts her mind at ease.
If he doesn't ring me from a certain point, I'll give him a certain amount of time before I start panicking in myself, just because there is so much that can go wrong out there.
Foremost in Christian's mind is the destructive potential of the road ahead.
We go through a lot of brake boosters. Like on the corrugations, the brake boosters actually break off. Cab mounts, door hinges, they just all flog out.
In this game, damage means money, something any new business is short on.
You seem to just to get ahead and then things happen. See, that's dirt roads, everything's expensive.
At the end of the bitumen road, it's time to let their tyres down for the beating ahead.
It's more given so that you don't get the shot through the trailer as much.
But then Christian spots the last thing he wanted to see. 2 shredded tyres.
Like it doesn't take long to rack up $1,000 worth of tyres.
And the dirt hasn't even started yet.
You just throw money away.
Turbo is a man on a mission. 30 kilometres north of Perth, he's racing to pick up a load, which should pay his way home to Brisbane.
It feels good after a couple of months out, but at this stage I can't relax yet. I can't let my guard down.
But on the open road, disaster lurks around every corner.
Sparks flying out from under this trailer. Something's going on, mate. Make it down, eh? Give us some room.
As I'm driving along, it felt like something hit the wheel. I felt a tug in the trailer. I've looked in the mirror and I've just seen sparks literally flying everywhere. Straight away, that's telling me I've got an issue. Major issue. All I need right now.
Clues to what happened lie 400 metres back up the road. A massive steel box welded onto Turbo's trailer has broken free, hitting the highway like a bomb.
That's how much impact there was.
It's smashed open, hurling its contents hundreds of metres along the road.
There's at least 10 grand's worth of gear laying here on the road and shit all over the road. That's I need this right now. And God knows what gear I've actually lost. I am absolutely pissed off. My gut is turning. That's how I feel.
Turbo's got a big job cleaning up the damage.
So now I've got to gather it all up. Somehow I've got to drag 1.5 tons of gear back up the road.
But suddenly, he needs to act quickly. Another truck's coming.
Yeah, take care here, northbound, and just come over the ridge, eh?
And Turbo's radio isn't working.
Yeah, northbound, and just watch it, eh? Back it down, mate, back it down. We've got shit all over the road here.
If the truck collides with this mess, it could set off a far bigger accident. Dennis Dent has been going head-to-head with the brutal roads of Cape York for a day and a half now.
Hey, hang on. You've got to be careful coming down that hill until you go off there. You're gone.
The road's a mess, but Dennis is taking things steady.
You can't be in a hurry in this country, in this type of work. You'd be in a hurry over these roads and you start breaking stuff, you know?
For the last 42 years, he's built his reputation on delivering his freight in one piece. But on this trip, some of the loads already damaged. It turned up like that from the supplier. Dennis had no option but to take it.
You just worry about, is it loaded properly and all that sort of thing? I don't know, I guess it's just me.
After a morning's drive, he's getting close to his destination of Bramwell Station. But now Dennis has been detoured.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to get across there, mate.
Into a dead end.
What a circus. So what are you going to do now?
After a 20-hour battle with a broken-down road, Dennis is now trapped on a section which is being repaired.
Well, I can't get out.
Out here, the sight of heavy machinery is usually a reason to celebrate.
Oh, back then, if you bogged a truck, there was no machinery to pull you out. You just had to jack it out and get it out yourself.
But today, they're just slowing Dennis down.
Hang on a sec. We'll chuck some dirt in that hole of that for you.
This has got plenty of machinery. If I get stuck there, it'll pull me up.
He's back on the road, but the detour has cost Dennis an hour. And with the clouds gathering,
Get a storm this afternoon, eh?
Dennis needs to get a move on. On the central Arnhem Road, Christian Reynolds is replacing 2 flat tyres.
I'm not impressed by it, but it's all part of it, eh?
But now he's got another problem. He's running low on spares, and he's still got 600 kilometres of dirt to go.
Just a bad run.
But a passing truck alerts Christian to an even bigger worry.
No, I haven't passed them anyway. They're still behind you somewhere.
Norman, Christian's rookie driver and Katie's brother, is missing in action.
They never saw Norman anywhere, eh? Oh.
Norman set off on the same run a couple of days ago. By now, he should have crossed paths with Christian and Katie on his drive home. "50 kilometres further down the track, Christian's anxiety for his missing driver is growing.
I thought I would have passed my other truck by now.
As the night goes on, the concern deepens.
Oh,
Worries.
no. He should be out this end if he got away at lunchtime. Well, he should have.
A parked truck ahead offers a glimmer of hope.
Oh, yeah, you haven't seen a Transstar with a couple of flat tops in the travels, have you?
Nah, this morning there was an old Lander with a bridge pylon and a backhoe and shit on it. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, all right, no dramas.
The condition of the road is only making things worse.
There's big corrugations just about trip over them. Yeah. Like it's dusty as anything. Look how much water's laying about. You know, they've had a lot of showers through here.
And still, no Norman.
He's my brother-in-law. He hasn't done much driving, but he works hard, eh? And he's steady. He just pokes along, and he's keen to learn. He really is. So he's worth the investment, you know. If he was broken down, that somebody would have said something. It is a concern in remote areas when a truck's not where you think it's going to be. You know, it's hard country out here. You are a long way from help.
Back it out, mate, back it out.
On a highway north of Perth, a truck is on a collision course with the scattered remains of Turbo's toolbox.
We've got shit all over the road here.
With Turbo's radio not working, he can't warn the driver.
Just run over me gear, it's all right, kid. Too bad if I was on the road, mate.
With no way of alerting passing trucks, Turbo needs to clear the road fast. But this is no small job.
Probably about 5 o'clock in the morning by the time I get to Geraldton and get to bed. Oh, let's just turn this into a long night. Well, that's the last.
Back at his truck, there's more work to do.
That there is the whole frame. This part here, this flat bar, should actually be pointing downwards. It hasn't been welded on there properly.
The flying toolbox has also made its mark on Turbo's trailer.
That K and a half, it's already scrubbed that tyre out. I just gotta somehow, I gotta pry that off of there. At least get it off enough, so it's not gonna f that tyre.
To make matters worse, the clean-up job is taking its toll on Turbo's sore back. But it's the impact on his bank balance that hurts the most.
At a rough estimate, there's probably 8 to 10 grand's worth of gear that was sitting in that box. I've probably recovered 5 grand of it, so 3 or 4 grand. That's belongs to the wilderness now.
Making money out of this journey has just taken a U-turn into the red.
Heap of don't need this right now.
Dennis Dent has made it to Bramwell Station in Cape York.
Oh, he's pleased to get here. It went quite well, really.
With the clouds starting to build, he's looking for a quick turnaround.
This time of the year, you know, you can get some big storms. You know, you've got a small window of opportunity.
Dennis gets to work, closely supervised by the station's pet.
It's a brolga. Follows you around like a dog, eh?
It's a hot, hard grind.
Ah, that's good.
With everything unloaded, Dennis wants to get moving, but there's a hold-up. The damaged freight Dennis was told to bring up is causing a dilemma.
It's a pain in the ass.
The owners can't decide what to do with it.
This is the part that annoys you. Maybe I shouldn't have accepted, but I wasn't in the yard when it come in. Oh, we'll send it. No, we won't. Yes, we will. No, we won't. I just want to get finished. I've had enough.
Finally, there's a decision.
Frigging around all day and now decide to put it on.
It needs to go back on Dennis's trailer to be returned to the supplier. Most of the afternoon is gone, but Dennis's day is far from over.
Bloody thing!
Before he can drive out of here, he needs to stack his trailers on top of each other by reversing up a steep ramp that's falling apart. On such a sharp incline, it's a struggle to get any control.
Oh, you bloody thing!
Stacking two trailers, which are exactly the same size, leaves no room for error.
Bloody joke, mate.
It looks impossible, but Dennis refuses to give in. Finally, after an uphill battle, Dennis gets it on, dead straight.
Hallelujah, brother!
The day's over. It's been 15 long hours of dust, heat, and frustration. He's aching and exhausted, but this trucker's still got something left in the tank. In Arnhem Land, Christian Reynolds has spotted a vehicle in the distance. He hopes it's his missing driver, Norman.
Coming from a mile away with those white tonight.
Boy, if it is, I'll pull up around the corner here.
It's a huge relief.
How you going? You've had me a bit worried.
Why?
Oh, because I haven't seen you.
Oblivious to the stress he's been causing, Norman's been plodding along.
I just took my time loading up the Savo because it was hot, so I just had to have a couple of spells, stop and get out of the sun.
We actually were worried about you, Norman, because no one knew where you were. We ran into like 4 trucks and no one had seen you.
Finding Norman is a big load off Christian's mind.
Well, he's one of my drivers. You know, you're responsible for all of them. You know, like I've only got him at the moment, but last year I had 3 going and you're responsible for all of them. So, you know, if they've got an issue, it becomes a bigger issue for you.
Now it's time for Norman to help Christian out.
Okay, so you got 2 good spares.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to swap some tyres. I've got no spares.
All right.
We had them flat tyres before we left the bitumen.
Yeah?
With his tyres replenished and his driver accounted for, Christian leaves Norman with one last word of advice.
Just remember they're just beams.
What? Yeah.
Don't kill yourself for it.
There's There's been rain overnight on the Arnhem Land Plateau. Exactly where Christian and Katie are now headed.
There has been a bit of rain out here in the last week or so. Like, it's still really dusty, but there's a lot of water laying around. The longer it lays there, the softer the road gets underneath. So, like, you can run into the drama of actually falling through the road.
Any violent movement could be disastrous for the load.
Oh, look at the water. That can't be good.
No.
The beams look solid, but each has a series of internal hollows.
Even though they're concrete beams, they are reasonably fragile.
Sliding off the road could bring this trip and the bridge construction to a sudden halt.
If you're flat out standing on it, it gets that slippery when it's wet. I'm really over the dirt roads. I really am.
Suddenly, something's come loose on the back. Christian has to pull over.
Come around, go past, go past.
After the dramas with his toolbox, Turbo has finally made it to the town of Geraldton.
Reached the destination.
Yeah, where?
Mate, I'm picking up a side tipper and a prime mover at your place. I'm just trying to find out where you are exactly.
So it's inside the toll yard. It'll be on the front fence in the grassed area there to the right-hand side.
Now it's time to focus on putting the rest of his load together. Going on the truck, another rig, and its trailer. But it isn't as straightforward as it might seem. Somehow, Turbo must fit everything around the car and furniture he already picked up in Perth.
I can't see crap, mate. How much room have I got at the back? I've still got to be able to get my ramps up. It's all right, it's only plastic.
Now for the trailer.
That's the edge. Keep going like that. Put the dolly lock in.
But Turbo may have bitten off more than he can chew.
How close is that?
He's using every inch of his trailer, and he still hasn't got the car on.
It's not mine. Yeah, I'll get it on. And you know what that means too, don't you? That means that's a challenge.
Even minus the dolly trailer, it's going to be tight.
I'll get it on, trust me.
Centimetre perfect. Finally, Turbo can head for home, 4,700 kilometres away. His journey has just begun. Christian has spotted something in his mirror that doesn't look right.
The corrugations and potholes and all that sort of stuff, just everything comes loose over the time.
A stack of gates is on the verge of spilling onto the road.
There's nothing on the other side to stop them coming out.
He's lucky he caught them in time.
Oh, the gates would have fell out. Probably pick them up on the way back, but someone else might come along and pick them up too. Like some things, you look at them and by the time you pull up, they've fell out.
And that's not all that's been moving around.
These back two beams have moved a little bit, eh? They've moved backwards about an inch.
The dirt track is starting to take its toll on the load. There's just 70 kilometres to Christian's destination, but two major obstacles still stand in his way. A double river crossing that's caught him out in the past.
You can get the whole truck and trailers out of the river, and that's it. That's as far as you can go. You just sit there spinning on top.
To give himself the best chance of making it across, Christian needs to break up his road train.
It's pretty steep out the other side as well, so I usually stop on the western side and strip trailers up and just pull them all through one at a time.
the first river, Annie Creek.
No other blokes that have gone through rivers and punched fuel tanks from rocks and things like that. I always go pretty steady and try not to pull too much water out of the river because it washes the bank away. It'll get a definite step in it and it's hard to get out of then. But that's just from dragging the water up the bank with you when you go.
While he's safely across, next is the Goyder River, not the sort of place you want to get stuck.
Yeah, but I've seen them in the Goyder. Big, saltwater ones. Big enough that you wouldn't go swimming in there, that's for sure.
Christian needs to make sure he's on the right line.
If you go straight across, it's got a hole in the middle of it and it's quite deep. There's a sign on the other side that as you come in, it tells you to go right down to the left-hand side where it's shallower. You can't always do that in the truck, just because of the sheer length of it. You can't get down there that far. It felt like you were going to get bogged in it, but yeah, it was all good.
The next hurdle, a slippery bank.
It's just the banks on either side that give you trouble. Yeah, with two trailers on, you sort of run out of traction and you just can't pull them any further.
He's got both trailers across. Now to hook up and drive the load in. Their destination is only 40 kilometres away. After running the gauntlet, they arrive unscathed. But at the construction site, it's not all good news.
Max is waiting for you.
Why?
You'll find out.
Oh, he's got the bonnet's up, but he's got something loaded.
A fellow trucker has broken down. He's blown a water pump and he's not happy about it.
Well, we put big money into road tax. I feel like sending a bill for my truck repairs to the government and say, well, here, this is what you've cost me because you haven't maintained your roads.
Christian will have to pick up the pieces.
We'll take all his gear and my gear back together. So we're in for a nice easy run home, stack one of our trailers up and just go home as a single, and now we're going to go as a triple.
Getting two trailers in here was hard enough. Now, Christian's got to drive out with three.
It's all inside, nice and even. Great teamwork.
With his load finally assembled, Turbo can fuel up for the long haul to Brisbane. At $2,000 for a top-up, it's a big drain on tight finances.
Oh, paper.
Suddenly, there's more bad news.
I just blew a clutch. That's not good.
It's yet another blow. He must get his old truck moving. The fix is textbook Turbo.
Thank you.
Force the truck into gear as he fires up the engine. Now he's in gear, he'll be able to move. But a busted clutch means a whole new driving style.
I've actually got to turn the truck off every time I want to put it in the gear now.
On top of his destroyed toolbox, Turbo's now looking at a $2,500 bill for a new clutch. Money he can't spare.
Now that's just basically eating into my profits.
All Turbo can do is hit the road and wait for his luck to turn, which may take a bit longer yet.
And how am I supposed to eat that? Yeah, I think that'll be a later thing. God, I can't even get it off my hands now.
Further down the road, Turbo's fortunes still haven't changed, but the winds have.
And just bang out of nowhere, it was just like a mini cyclone hit me.
Gale force winds have suddenly sprung up. Turbo's driving straight into them.
With this headwind, it's playing absolute havoc. It's grabbing me and it's just slamming me.
His fuel consumption is blowing out.
I would probably, at the moment, average 500 metres to a litre. I have no fuel economy.
And his tarpaulin is blowing loose.
The biggest thing that's causing the drama, inside this tipper, the whole top of it's open. So the wind's just going straight inside the bin and it's just acting like a big parachute. It's not the first time I've faced tornado-like conditions, especially sort of when we get out towards the Nullarbor there.
Turbo faces a long and winding road home. At any moment, this wind could blow him right over.
It's just playing havoc. It's grabbed me and literally slammed me straight off the road.
In Cape York, it's another day, another Dennis.
Fresh start in the morning, you've got a different attitude. It was a pretty hard day yesterday. It's not so much work, it's the heat that gets you in the end.
Once again, it's a scorcher. Good weather for reptiles and for drying up puddles. Dennis is headed for home and cruising over the same road he wrestled on his way out here.
Incredible how quick the road changes, that's what I mean. Every trip's different.
Ahead is 480 kilometres of dry dirt and not a cloud in sight. For Dennis, this is what it's all about.
This has been a really good run, actually. It doesn't always go that smooth, I can tell you.
By the afternoon, Dennis makes it safely onto the bitumen.
We've done it again, old girl.
Just as the rain arrives.
Start getting that torrential rain then. Could rain for 2 or 3 days without stopping. Rain all night, all day. Once it starts raining, it just keeps raining.
It's a moment for reflection. The start of the wet season. The end of a journey. The twilight of a career.
Everybody asks me, oh, you're going to give it away? I'm giving it away every year. But I love it. It's like a big family in the Cape to me. And I love the people up there, and I enjoy what I'm doing. Hallelujah, brother. We're home. And I often think about that because I don't want to give it away, but one day I won't be able to do it. And it'll be a bit of a sad day for me, actually.